Chicha de Jora is a corn beer that has been prepared and consumed in communities throughout Latin America for millennia. Chicha de Jora was not just used as an alcoholic beverage, but instead is a part of colonial Latin American religion and culture. It is made much like the style of many European-style beers, in which the process starts by germinating the maize, extracting malt sugars, and then fermented in a large vessel for several days. Chicha is specifically made from a type of yellow maize that the people refer to as jora. It resembles apple cider in the way it looks and tastes. However, depending on where it is made, it can be aged and made darker and sour. Traditionally, it is not very strong in alcohol, however, this can change from region to region. Chicha de Jora plays a prevalent role in many societies in Latin America. Chicha played a different role in each society in Latin America. However, the common theme of them using it for celebrations and religious ceremonies was not uncommon. Leaders in Peru would give it to laborers as a show of good faith and thanking them for their work. Other societies would use it as a religious component to their ceremonies, offering it to the gods in a hope for a good harvest. One example of this is from an article written by Edward Nicholson, describing a ritual performed for the god of thunder in hopes of bringing rain. The people dressed in mourning and marched weeping through the town. They tied up black llamas and dogs so that they would cry from hunger and thirst, and then sprinkled chicha beer around them, hoping thus to appeal to the sympathies of the deities. While this shows the religious importance of the beer, Jerry Moore, in his article Pre-Hispanic Beer in Coastal Peru, describes how important it was in everyday society. Using an example from 1566, laborers in an Inca society refused to do the demanded labor unless they were served chicha as a form of payment. Chicha was subsequently brought to them, and the labor was done. The consumption of chicha de jora is not something that was strictly consumed at religious ceremonies or for bargaining for labor, but was also very prevalent in everyday life. Traditional homemade chicha would be sold in homes throughout Bolivia, Peru, Ecuador, Colombia, and in Costa Rica. These impromptu stores were called chicherias. Set up in people's houses, there would be the production and selling of chicha. Many of these homes relied on selling the chicha, as it brought in money into sometimes struggling households. The chicherias are identifiable by a bamboo pole sticking out of the open door with a red flag, flower, or ribbon attached to the pole. Shown here is the traditional way of making chicha, and this just shows how labor-intensive the process really was. Women were the primary makers of the drink, and were actually taught this as a technique in their schooling. The traditional way of making chicha involves germination of the maize. This is done by grounding it up and then being chewed by the chicha maker. By doing this, the people feel that they are part of what they are making, and it starts the breaking down of the starch. Certain areas where chicha was consumed would offer a libatation before drinking. They pour some of the chicha onto the ground with the phrase, Pachamama Santa Teria. This translates to blessed ground or earth mother. Spanish imperialists would look to stop the distribution of chicha, as it looked at it as dirty, and the people would often gather at chicherias and use it as a gathering spot to socialize and get drunk. Obviously, the attempts to slow the consumption of chicha would never work, and the people refused to stop making it. It meant more to them than just an alcoholic beverage, but served as a symbol of their community and lifestyle. Although chicha continued to be popular across social groups in colonial times, it began to decline dramatically in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Following the independence from Spain, racially charged campaigns against native traditions skyrocketed. Poor hygiene, criminality, and laziness were all associated with chicha. As a result, chicha and other native traditions became stigmatized and something that you don't want to associate with. While you can still find chicha in Latin America, most chicherias are in the slums surrounding big cities, as well as small towns throughout the countryside. They are never in large westernized cities. However, as more attention has been brought to chicha and native traditions as a whole, chicha is once again becoming more and more normalized.